the Hawk storyline part of that. Looking
Yeah.
back at addiction and everything now, thoughts on the storyline?
Well, look, right, wrong, or indifferent, I think the idea behind it was a similar idea that they asked me to do a few years prior to this. They wanted to document, around this time, or it may have been prior to this, but around the 90s, is when Brett Favre kind of said, hey, I'm taking Vicodin, and he kind of went through a very public thing. And so they had come to me and said, look, we're going to send you to rehab, for the 30th time. We'd like to document it. And so, and I was like, you can't do that. I got kids. I didn't realize my kids were, watching me screwed up every day. But so they were always been trying to do that. And I think it was for the right reasons. I think it was in order to have kind of a storyline that was a PSA also about drinking and drugging, and there is a way out of that hole. And you know what I mean? Like, you can get help. There's help for you out there, and I think that's what they were trying to show. Yeah. I just don't know if we went about it the right way. I don't know if if they were going to do it full force and let him. I don't know. Looking back, I don't think they handled it the correct way with Hawk. But I do believe there's a way to do that. And I think they handled it recently with Jeff Hardy the wrong way too. WWE did. They kind of messed with his drinking and stuff rather than talk about how to support him and how to help somebody like that. You know what I mean? So
I was going to say, having had your experiences, does that make you hesitant to run personal, heavy or deep angles? Or do you feel wrestling is meant for that edgy, gritty, raw realness, and that personal demons and addictions add to the emotion of the story and connection to the audience?
Yeah. No, look, I agree with you 100%. I think people can relate. You know what I mean? I being one of them. I think people can relate. So, but the tricky part is, my concern is, how do you outweigh the positive? You outweigh with the positive rather than the negative. And so how do you can have the heel go, you're an alky or whatever, but you got to see the guy overcoming his demons and being successful and doing all that.
Right.
And I guess Jeff, to my earlier point, Jeff Hardy did that in his WWE story. And so, kudos for that. I just think it's tricky. You know what I mean? It's like we always talked about, hey, let's have Rusev burn an American flag. And everybody was like, oh, you couldn't do that. And I was one of them. I was one of the first people, you can't do that. Well, then I started writing for the television show and started thinking, hey, this is a television show. You know what I mean? Like, on Law and Order, they burn an American flag. Now, believe you me, I will fight a man who tries to burn the American flag in front of me. And that's all there is to it. But here, it was like, man, it may be real heat to have, John Cena tied up and him burn an American flag in front of John Cena, and then you go to the big flag match at Mania or whatever. So there's a fine line, because we're real and we're not real.
Yeah.
And where does that leave you? You know what I mean?
Now, I always talk to the talent about that when talking about their character, and when they were doing media interviews, there would always be, are you in character or out of character? And it's like, you're always in character.
Yeah.
But you have to find the balance of what the out of character version of in character is.
And that's you hit the nail on the head. The problem with not with today's talent, with a lot of talent, couldn't do that. You know what I mean? And couldn't find that comfortable spot where they could maintain their character in a real life situation or scenario, and kind of still be the real person and the Road Dogg or the Rock or whatever. And so I think some people can do that and some people can't. You know what I mean?
Was it fun being involved with Jeff again?
Yeah, look, it's always been fun. It's always fun being involved with Jeff. I just love Jeff Jarrett. He's always had my back. A couple people have had my back in this industry, and he's one of them. And so it was always a great time when I get to work with Jeff. And look, Jeff, now that people are getting to know him via his podcast, people are becoming fans of Jeff Jarrett, and that's Jeff Jarrett the person. Everybody hated Jeff Jarrett, the Intercontinental Champion, and that cheater, the roadie. But like, that's what, you realize why I love Jeff so much when you get to know him.